friends. Today, it's that time when we ask ourselves, what's going on with Broadway? So we've been covering the Broadway shutdown and subsequent reopening for quite some time now. 2 years. It's been 2 years. And we're scheduled to have this big return in the spring. We're off to a slightly rockier start than I think we were anticipating. And we've got Tony Awards season just around the corner. We got a lot to discuss, so let's jump into it. If this is your first time seeing my face, hi! My name is Kat, and I really like musicals. If you really like musicals, hit subscribe to join the musical theater internet cult. We may not be a real cult, but we do have a very intricate Parent Trap style handshake and matching crew neck sweaters, so you tell me which one you'd rather be a part of. Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Question of the day, what are your thoughts on Tony Awards season, in general or this year in particular? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Real quick, let's take a moment to thank today's sponsor. Hi! Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service where you get to test out a new designer fragrance every month for just $16. Scentbird has a quiz that'll help you get started finding a fragrance you love. Then, based on your quiz results, previous purchases, and preferences, Scentbird will continue to find fragrances that'll be a perfect fit. They have over 600 designer brands covering perfumes, colognes, and unisex options. Scentbird stocks top designer brands like Gucci, Prada, Versace, and indie labels like The Harmonist, Confessions of a Rebel, and Vince Camuto. And Scentbird's vials are so handy, you can easily toss it in your purse or suitcase. This is actually a 30-day supply, so you can wear designer perfume for the whole month without committing to a super high price tag. Speaking of which, here are the perfumes I chose this month. This is Bella Essence by Oscar de la Renta, and the top notes are grapefruit and rose centifolia. It's giving me brunch vibes, very girls' night out vibe. It's a very Elle Woods scent. Next, we've got Vetiver by Malin & Getz. Top notes are bergamot and grapefruit, and I feel so put together when I wear this. I feel clean. This perfume makes me feel classy and expensive, one of my new favorites. We've got Sugarful by Michael Germain. The top notes that really stand out to me are peony and cotton candy. If you grew up loving vanilla body spray like me, this is the adult version of that. We've got Rose Fire by Hermetica. The top notes are Rose Absolute and Violet. This is my new go-to date night scent. It's so elegant and romantic, it's sophisticated. Scentbird is also super flexible, so you can skip a month without any penalty, you can upgrade to get 2 or 3 products, and exciting, Scentbird is now available in Canada. So what are you waiting for? Try Scentbird today. Click the link down below and use code Katherine for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's only about $7 for your first month. Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring this segment. And now, back to the video. So we've been covering the Broadway shutdown in real time these past 2 years, so if you want to get caught up on any of that, I'll link those videos down below. But here's a super teeny tiny little recap. So things have remained kind of tender since the initial Broadway shutdown of March 2020. Broadway, the West End, and theater kind of at large had to shut down in response to the pandemic. Outdoor and streaming theater kind of became the norm for about 2 years. Then theater began to trickle back kind of last autumn. So in the fall of 2021, we finally saw tons of established shows coming back to Broadway with a bang, which slowly kind of turned to a fizzle by the time the winter came, which is fine, that's to be expected. That kind of happens every Broadway season. So we were scheduled to hopefully have this big comeback in the spring, but it seems like maybe it's going to be more of a slow ramp up than the big bang people were anticipating. Because Broadway kind of pulled out all the stops preparing for a major tourist season. For instance, we've got Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick returning to Broadway in Plaza Suite. Daniel Craig of the James Bond franchise is leading a revival of Macbeth. The highly anticipated first ever Broadway revival of Funny Girl hits the scene. The stage is set for an incredible theater season, but all we're getting is a lot of sickness and a lot of cancellations. Longer running shows like Phantom of the Opera or Wicked have had a slightly easier time coming back from the pandemic. They're rebuilding their show rather than creating a whole new one from the ground up. They have a lot more resources, they have the financials, they have a database of understudies. But a lot of new shows simply don't have the manpower to keep going whenever they hit a bump in the road. For instance, A Strange Loop and Paradise Square, 2 brand brand new musicals have both had to shut down multiple times for multiple days. In fact, as I'm recording, they just announced another cancellation for this weekend. Macbeth, starring Daniel Craig, had to shut down for 10 days. And what's really tough is that sometimes these cancellations are coming at a moment's notice, hours before showtime, which is just insanely tough, not only for arts workers, but for theater fans. When you've got people coming in from out of town to see a show only for that show to be canceled just before curtain, it's tough to drop money when you're not necessarily guaranteed a performance that night. Also, I'm just way more concerned about the health and safety of casts and crews and audience members. I don't want people getting sick. And then on top of all that, a lot of new shows are not being very well reviewed by critics. So with all of that put together, I think it's caused a lot of people to wonder whether or not Broadway is in its flop era. Hang on to that idea, because we're gonna come back to it in a sec. Because now we've got the latest news update. So recently, New York City has lifted the vaccine mandate for a lot of places and activities, and Broadway was initially scheduled to announce their new updated audience safety procedures on April 1st, but moved to postpone their announcement to later in the month. They were gonna make some sort of update, but with the rise in COVID cases and the introduction of the new variant, they decided to wait. So now we're just kind of waiting to see if they change the rules or not. I also think it's interesting because if you missed last week's video, Actors Equity Association recently announced that they're going to allow their employers to hold in-person auditions again. So we've definitely seen some forward momentum on that front, but nothing yet when it comes to Broadway audiences. Currently, theatergoers must be fully vaccinated and wearing a mask during the entire performance unless they're eating or drinking. And those rules will for sure be in effect until at least April 30th, potentially longer depending on what the theaters decide. Because surprise! It's Tony season! Everything is ramped up. In the past month, we've gotten so many announcements, so many Broadway openings. In fact, the most Broadway openings in a decade. Some shows have even bumped up their opening night date so that they'll make the April 28th cutoff date for the Tony Awards. Nominations and full eligibility haven't even been announced yet, but there are certain titles that we are anticipating to see. Musicals like Mrs. Doubtfire, A Strange Loop, Caroline or Change, Girl from North Country, Company, The Music Man, and so many more. Also, if you haven't heard, the Tony Awards will be taking place on Sunday, June 12th at Radio City Music Hall. In a total contrast to last year's untelevised ceremony, this year's Tony Awards will be a 4-hour multi-platform streaming event. I don't know what that means, but I'm into it. Starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can watch an exclusive Tony Award pre-show on Paramount+. Then you can watch the actual Tony Awards ceremony over on CBS, or you can stream it or watch it on demand over on Paramount+. My opinion, I'm stoked. I am so excited and so interested to see what this show is gonna be. I mean, I'm someone who growing up, we would always watch the Oscars red carpet and like go to viewing parties and make a whole deal out of awards season. And I've always been so bummed that the Tony Awards don't get as much screen time or hype as other award shows. So I'm really excited to see what this is gonna be. So coming back to that question from earlier, is Broadway in its flop era? Personally, I don't think so. I'm kind of hoping that quarantine served as our flop era. You know, our time to figure out what's working, what's not working, what we want the next iteration of us to be. But I also don't 100% feel like Broadway is back. I'm really hopeful that it's on the way, and I think this year's Tony Awards are going to be some of the very first indications of that. But those are just my thoughts. I want to hear from you. What do you think about the Tony Awards, Broadway's reopening, or anything else we covered in today's video? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, hit subscribe, join the musical theater internet cult. Thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Click the link down below and use code Katherine to get 55% off. I hope you're having a great day. I love you so much. Break a leg, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!